Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Friday, end of the week for you guys. So I thought today we talk about what advice would you give to someone that's already in the business? I know that if you're in business, right? If you're making it is based on what you're doing right and learning from what you're doing wrong, right? So I thought I'd do kind of a lightning round, and I have to do it on small engine repair, inventories, retail space, stuff that I know, right? Business for the most part is business, right? But to critique somebody, you have to get more specific. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Friday, October 4th. Happy birthday to my daughter if she's watching this. And today, what I thought we'd do is critique and give advice. And this is another participation that I like to see everybody get involved with because I know there's a lot of you out there that are in business, okay? And I appreciate, all the comments yesterday on the hand tools. Thank you so much. Randy, get on the mend. Do what you're supposed to be doing. And that goes for the rest of us. We need to take my own advice, and that is listen to your doctors, do what your doctors tell you to do. And there's a reason why they say, don't push it, because you keep re injuring it. And if you keep re injuring it, you're going to be in pain longer. So, critiquing someone's business, and I thought about this for a while, and I have to talk sometimes in generalizations and more specific. But if somebody in my field came to me and said, I need some advice on what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. Because sometimes we get so invested, so involved, that it's hard to see what is the outcome of our input, how much effort we put forth. Is it paying off? So my first piece of advice that I would give other people that are in the business is stay as debt free as possible. And I know, I get it. A lot of these, if you want to be floor planning, if you want to be specialty dealerships, if you want the big discounts, if you want the free shipping, you need to spend gazoola money, right? And what I found in the past is, we put in a $30,000-$40,000 preseason order. I mean, I was spending, even at one aftermarket company, close to $50,000 a month. And you're like, wow, yeah. But I was selling all those parts in a month. I wasn't putting them on my shelf. And that's the big difference. I understand if you're doing a preseason, a lot of these companies will give you like a 3, 5, 10% discount on the parts. Or they'll say, if you buy so many dollars in preseason parts, we'll give you free shipping for the rest of the year. What's the other one? Any parts this going forward will give you a discount on, because if you want to be a specialty dealership. And what is a specialty dealership? It means you're full-fledged, service, retail, everything. And you've been willing to spend the money to become one. And to that, I say that's fine as long as you are getting rid of all their product within that year. And you're saying, well, that's just not possible. Yes, it is. See, with a preseason, you get to pick what you want. A lot of times with a specialty, they send you what they want, what they think you should carry. And that means you have to carry so many machines floor planning too, right? But if you're looking at, here it is, October 4th, guys. And your preseason came in January, February. If you're still sitting on 3/4 of the products that they sent, it's not looking good, is it? What good is 10% off the parts order if you're only selling 20% of the overall parts? You're still stuck with 80% of the products that you can't sell or haven't sold. Yes, you got free shipping on any order after, but is it really helping you? The same thing with floor planning. People jump in and they strive to be the top of the heap, right? The diamond for rigs. There's always these big names for them. And they co-op advertising. They put you on their website. Well, I'm on the Briggs website. I'm on the Kohler website. I'm on the Champion, Generac. I'm on the call list for all of them. And I stopped buying. I stopped doing it. And why was that? Because I saw two things that were writing on the wall. One was my parts sales were starting to drop. And I was in the middle of growth, right? So I took a good look and I said, so what's causing my parts online, the orders to start slowing down? And that's when I started seeing Chinese sellers. And at the time, I was good friends with one of the VPs for eBay. And I got a hold of him. I reached out and I said, what's going on here with the Chinese sellers? And he said, well, right now we're looking at allowing them in. I said, don't. Don't. You will ruin it for everybody else. But their takeaway was, well, we're going to make more money because we're going to have more sellers, more accounts, more bullcrap. You just threw all your sellers and your buyers to the wolves. You just sold your platform out, and Amazon followed right behind. But how did that relate to me? I had to do what was right for my business, and that was to pull back. And when I started getting, if it was October, and I was still sitting on any product that I bought after January 1st, I would discount it just to get rid of it. And that's the advice I would give to you. If you're still sitting on a lot of product, you need to either deep discount, break even on it, but somehow clear it off your books before you go get another load of it. Because that's the biggest thing that catches so many dealers. It's closing a lot of doors. Is they can't admit that they didn't do as good as they did last year or the year before. And they're spiraling down and they're getting so much inventory. They're getting heavy with debt. They're getting heavy with machines that aren't selling. And they're not selling right now, guys, because of the economy. It's the economy, stupid, right? People are trying to, because inflation, disposable incomes are down. Unless you're in the battery power stuff seems to be selling better right now than the others. But you need to have a sale. If you're still sitting on product in October, now if you got stuff that would be good for Christmas stuff, start throwing that on sale the beginning of next month. I mean, most people say it's getting too early. It's earlier or earlier. It is. I mean, I'm surprised that Walmart doesn't have their Christmas stuff out yet. But you need to have sales. And you should always have a sale going on anyways. Of some form. And that is getting rid of the stuff that, see, with your parts in your inventory, that's a hard one. It is. Because if they're picking and choosing what you have to take, what I found with MTD, and I'm not trying to single them out, but they wanted you to buy a bunch of crap that you'd never use, you'd never sell. And it was stuff that they were getting heavily burdened with, right? So they were dumping it on their dealers, at least the one MTD distributor I dealt with. And I still have some of their crap on the wall from when I first signed on years ago. It's probably good new old stock, antique stuff, But that would be the first thing I would give for any advice is slim down. If you're not willing to take a good look at your business and see where you're at today and have an honest dialogue, then it probably is not going to matter for you. But if you're running your business correctly, you're constantly running audits, I call it. And that is checking to see if you're on track and if you're going in the right direction. If you're not, why not? And you need to ask that why not early enough so that you can change the course of the ship so you don't become the Titanic and run on the ground. And if that means you're not going to floor plan this year, or you have to drop from, the diamond dealership to the bottom tier for a year or two to get rid of the inventory, do it. I don't care what they think, and I don't care what the public thinks. It's your dollars. And if you got it all tied up in inventory or floor planning that you didn't sell last year and that you still have this year, and now you have more this year that you didn't sell, and you're looking out back and you got pallets, tiers of brand new equipment that hasn't even been put together, is 2 years old, 3 years old, you're not being honest with yourself. You should have everything cleared out before the new stuff arrives. Everything. You shouldn't have a brand new model that's 2 years old, that's been sitting at your shop for 2 years. Honestly. Now, the second bit of advice is, how much time are you spending at work? I mean, for some of us, we're workaholics, right? That's where we thrive. And I'm a person that says, it's all right if you're really good at business, but if you suck at everything else, like going out and enjoying things, what is a vacation? Delegating, if you continue down this course, there's a couple things that could happen. One, it can affect your health. It really can. And the other is you can burn out. Both will have the same effect, right? Because if your health starts to deteriorate and you're not doing other things that are enjoyable, you're at work all the time and you're stressing all the time. Maybe you're that one that's got 2-year-old floor planning stuff still on the racks out back, and you're, pounding your head on the ground trying to figure it out. My second bit of advice would be to learn how to delegate. I know if you're a one-man shop with all the hats, I get it. I really get it. I understand it. But if you're a shop that has employees, then maybe it's time you learned how to delegate. And that involves getting key people in place that can do the job. And a lot of times, what I've seen with different shops is they've got good key employees, but the owner isn't willing to allow them to shine. And it's not that the boss doesn't want them to shine, it's that the boss or the owner is unwilling to give up the reins for fear something could terribly happen. Well, if you've hired the right people and you give them the right support and encouragement, I've seen mediocre employees shine if you approach them right. If you got a mechanic, maybe you can turn him into, the service manager / mechanic. And if you're a two-man band like Claude and I, Claude handles the service part of it. I handle the billing and collecting the money, of course, but he decides on what comes in and goes out in that shop. And I have to rely on his expertise of, is it worth bringing it in or is it a turd, one or the other? Is it going to cost us money in the end? That doesn't mean that you don't give up, that you give up total control, because you're still, doing audits, right? And if you're doing a number of redos and your service manager / mechanic isn't taking, or is kind of blowing that off, then you need to have a talk with your service manager / mechanic. We can't afford to keep redoing. You're still getting paid, but the shop isn't. If the shop isn't getting paid, we're going out of business. And you can find yourself a new job, right? And the same thing with customer service, finding the right person, allowing them to shine, letting them take on more responsibilities if they want, if they're so willing. But if you're critiquing them all the time and finding fault, a lot of times even your best employees don't want to do it because they don't want to hear it. But the second bit of advice is you need to give up some more of that workload to others. Delegate. Start taking vacations. Start traveling. Start enjoying your time off so that you're not thinking in the business 7 days a week. I mean, for many of us, see, the way I've run the shop right to this day is I wanted the ability to, if I just have had it and I'm done, I can go down to the shop, I can lock the doors and walk away and not owe anybody anything. Nada. And that's where the shop has been for years. Everything's paid for. When the business was good, I was reinvesting, paying things off. And I was saving money before I make that next leap, right? I always had the money in reserve. I didn't borrow money. I saved up until I could afford it and then went to the next step. So you need to get your business to the point of where you can comfortably say, if I'm all done right now and I just lock the doors, I don't owe anybody anything. And that's a good feeling, especially as you get older like us. So what advice would you guys give to other businesses? See, with the parts and the floor planning and all that stuff, I understand all of it. I mean, I've had sales reps continually bombard me with that bullshit. They don't care if you file bankruptcy and your business gets foreclosed on because you took their advice. they're getting a percentage of every part that they sell you. Sales guys are getting a certain percentage of the overall sales to you. So the more they can sell you, the better their income is. And most generally, they don't give a rat's ass about you. All they care about is their bottom dollar. And that's how sales goes, right? If you get lucky like we did with the one, we were both making sure it worked for both of us. But most of the sales reps that are peddling stuff to you from these businesses are doing it based solely on their percentage of the sale. They're not looking out for you. Too bad that you had to file bankruptcy and you had to let 7 or 8 employees go that were good employees because you made a bad choice. Don't be that person. But I think business is business, right? And it doesn't matter what business you're in. You still have to follow some things, you know. And in the beginning, yeah, you're putting a lot of time into it because it's your baby. But where do you start backing off so that you start enjoying yourself again? You know, birthday parties, weddings, get-togethers, they come and go, right? And you're still overworking. Fishing with your grandkids, your kids, doing stuff with them. Pretty quick, they're all grown up. And if you were so invested in your business, instead of making sure you were well-rounded and okay, so you were great at business, but you really sucked because you were a distant father or a distant grandfather, and you just let all that time go. We can't get it back. And I tell people, it's the journey. It's the journey of having fun with the grandkids, watching them coming up through the ranks. You know, I've got one that loves hunting that we've had since he was little. One grandson. I got 2 more grandsons coming. And hopefully they'll be involved with the outdoor sports here on the farm and fishing and enjoying that kind of stuff versus drugs and alcohol. Like I was brought up. But today is what, if you think about it, because a lot of you guys have your own business or had run your own business. What advice would you give somebody else today? The way the economy is, the way business is. What would you have wished to learn earlier on that you know now that you didn't know then? So on that note, you guys have a great Friday, and I'm sure I'll put a video out over the weekend, but just think about that. And let us know. Let everybody else know your wisdom. Because that's what the channel's all about, right? Is sharing our wisdom with others so that hopefully we help 1, 2, maybe 3 people. All right, guys. Have a great Friday.